I was the only one who bid on this ancient battleship. What I uncovered inside rewrote everything. This was not a place where anyone came to visit, let alone bid on treasures. And yet there it sat, the HSS Dominion. Its hull was battered, rust crawling like veins across the once proud surface. Most species in the galaxy had already forgotten its name or dismissed it as an obsolete relic of humanity's early space wars. Aliens called it junk. Humans barely remembered it existed. Every auction for the battleship had failed. Every bidder had walked away. Its price had dropped lower and lower until it became almost laughable. And then came the human salvage captain who would change everything. The captain's name was Marcus Kane. He had seen worse ships than the Dominion in the scrapyards, but he had never seen one that screamed history like this. Some part of him felt drawn to it, though he could not explain why. When he entered the auction room, he noticed the eyes of other bidders on him, filled with amusement. A tall, four-armed alien with green skin and glowing eyes whispered to its companion, "Do you see that human? He's bidding 1 credit for a battleship older than our archives." Madness, Marcus ignored them. He had been scraping by for years, taking dangerous salvage contracts and barely paying for fuel. This ship was risky, yes. Its AI was probably broken, its engines ancient, and the weapons systems decades behind modern technology. But humans thrived on risk. Humans thrived on the impossible. When the auctioneer called the final bidding round, Marcus pressed the button with a steady hand. 1 credit. No one else moved. The alien consortiums froze in disbelief. One by one, their fingers hovered over their controls. Then slowly they withdrew. The battleship was his. As Marcus prepared for boarding, the station's automated assistant beeped nervously. "Warning, vessel HSS Dominion systems are unknown and non-standard." "Access may be hazardous," Marcus smiled. He loved the word hazardous. It meant adventure. The shuttle docked, and he stepped into the Dominion for the first time in decades. The smell hit him immediately, metal, old fuel, and a faint trace of ozone. Dust motes floated in the low light of the corridors. The walls, though scratched and dented, still carried the pride of human engineering. He could feel it, the strength, the potential hidden beneath years of neglect. Every door he passed seemed to hum with faint energy. But the central core door, massive and reinforced, caught his attention. It bore the seal of an ancient human military encryption system. Marcus ran his fingers across it. It was cold, but the metal felt alive in a way he could not explain. He knew this was where the ship's secrets lay. He attempted to power the ship. Systems groaned and sparked, lights flickering uncertainly. Then, unexpectedly, the ship responded. The hull shuddered and a soft voice echoed through the empty corridors. "Authorization recognized. Commander status, pending. Contingency protocol Atlas initiating." Marcus froze. The voice was calm, precise, and unmistakably intelligent. This was no ordinary AI. This was something built with purpose, with design far beyond the auction's records. He moved cautiously through the corridors, his eyes scanning every control panel and console. Screens blinked to life, displaying schematics he had never seen before. Weapons layouts, propulsion diagrams, and security logs scrolled across in rapid sequences. He had seen human designs, yes, but these were extraordinary. Adaptive. Alive, somewhere deep in the ship, a section of the floor lifted silently, revealing a staircase leading down into darkness. Marcus felt the thrill of discovery in his chest. He had always lived for moments like this, when a hidden truth waited just out of reach, daring him to take it. He descended. The lower levels were colder, the air heavier. Dust gave way to a strange, metallic scent, sharper, almost clean. In a room lit by a pale blue glow, he saw the central control hub. Panels lined the walls, and in the center floated a holographic map of the galaxy, shimmering with thousands of tiny points of light. Marcus stepped closer. His eyes widened. Many of these points were labeled with timestamps, coordinates, and warnings. Some had markings he could not understand, clearly alien, but others were human. Humans had hidden these in plain sight. He shook his head in disbelief. The AI spoke again calmly, like a teacher explaining a lesson to a student. "Systems are 87% functional, weapons offline pending authorization. Primary objective, survival of human contingency programs." Marcus laughed softly. Survival, contingency programs. The ship was centuries old. How could a battleship that nobody wanted still carry protocols meant for survival? He ran diagnostics on the engines. Surprisingly, they were intact, though limited in power. The ship's weaponry, however, showed anomalies. Each system seemed designed to adapt to threats dynamically. It would not just fire, it would learn. Every instinct Marcus had screamed that this ship was different, that it was special, that humanity had built it for a reason they never told the galaxy. Outside the ship, alien bidders tried to track the Dominion's energy signature. They saw readings that defied logic. Their top engineers and strategists could not explain what they were witnessing. A forgotten battleship was emitting power levels comparable to modern destroyers. Inside, Marcus moved deeper into the ship. He found records, encrypted logs, and hidden compartments. One contained a small, perfectly preserved uniform from the early expansion wars, the insignia of a human fleet long erased from history. Another compartment held a data core labeled Protocol Atlas Human Defense Initiative. Marcus stared at it. The name felt heavy, like it carried centuries of forgotten human ambition and planning. He realized the Dominion was more than a battleship. It was a time capsule. A warning, a weapon. The AI interrupted his thoughts. Commander, unknown entities detected in the Kairos sector. Probability of hostile response, 72%. Shall I initiate defensive protocols? Marcus hesitated. Outside, no one had approached yet, but the AI's words carried weight. It had knowledge he could not see. It had foresight. Perhaps it had been waiting for someone like him all along. Yes, Marcus said finally. Initiate what you need, but do not fire unless I command. The AI paused. For a moment it felt as if the ship itself were holding its breath. Then systems began to hum, slowly at first, then with increasing confidence. Lights steadied. Weapons calibrations completed, though not armed. The ship was awakening. Marcus explored the lower decks further. He discovered a room with hundreds of small capsules, each labeled with a human name and date. He realized with a shock that these were stasis pods. Humans had planned for a time when the galaxy might be hostile, and they had prepared their own people to survive. The realization hit him in waves. This ship was never meant to be sold. It was never meant to be abandoned. It was hidden, waiting for a captain who could unlock it, waiting for a time when humans might need it again. He moved back to the bridge, his mind racing. The Dominion was not a relic. It was a secret, a message from the past. And now he held it in his hands. Suddenly the AI spoke again, and this time its tone carried a hint of urgency. Commander, unknown energy readings detected outside the system. Probability of threat, 65%. Recommendation, prepare for contact. Marcus leaned against the console, heart pounding. The outer junk ring had been silent moments ago. Now something was moving, something alive, something ancient, perhaps older than even humanity itself. He gripped the controls. The Dominion shuddered slightly under his hands, alive with potential. This was not just a ship. This was humanity's past, present, and future, folded into cold steel and hidden programs. Marcus looked out through the main viewport at the cold, black expanse of space. He realized he was not just a salvage captain anymore. He was the key to something much larger than himself, something the galaxy had long forgotten. And the AI whispered, almost like a secret meant for him alone. Commander, the galaxy does not know what is coming. But you will. Marcus swallowed hard. He did not know what awaited him, but he felt ready. The Dominion had chosen him, and for the first time in years he felt a spark of hope, of excitement, of purpose. Outside, the stars glimmered. The dead planet of Kairos seemed smaller than before. Somewhere beyond the veil of the void, something stirred. And Marcus Kane, human among aliens, alone among billions, was about to find out why the battleship no one wanted was never meant to be ignored. The HSS Dominion had awakened, and so had humanity's secret. The moment Marcus Kane set foot on the Dominion, he realized he was holding more than just a ship. The AI, which had introduced itself simply as Atlas, seemed alive in a way that no human or alien system had ever been. Its voice, calm and precise, echoed softly through the corridors, and every screen flickered with information faster than Marcus could read. Commander, Atlas said, systems are functioning at 87% capacity. Many functions remain locked. Several contain historical contingency programs. Should I unlock them? Marcus paused. His fingers hovered over the console. Yes, he said slowly. Unlock them, show me everything. For a moment the ship seemed to breathe. Lights pulsed in a rhythm like a heartbeat. Panels slid open, revealing hidden compartments, data cores, and storage units no one had touched in centuries. Marcus felt a thrill unlike any he had ever known. He had discovered relics before, but nothing like this. The first discovery was a sealed chamber labeled Human Defense Archives, Expansion Era. Marcus swiped the access code from the AI and entered. Inside, the walls were lined with shelves of metallic cylinders, each containing data crystals. He picked one up. His scanner beeped, unknown encryption far beyond modern standards. "This is ancient," Marcus muttered, "way older than anything in the current records." Atlas's voice was calm, almost proud. "Commander, these archives were hidden. Humanity erased them from galactic records intentionally. They contain knowledge of battleships, defense systems, and survival protocols designed during the early expansion wars. They were meant to survive threats the galaxy had not yet seen." Marcus frowned. "Survive threats like what?" "The unknown," Atlas replied. "Humanity predicted a threat beyond recorded history, one capable of destroying entire civilizations. These ships were prototypes. This one, HSS Dominion, was the first fully functional model." Marcus's heart skipped. "You mean this ship was never really meant to fight anyone alive today? It was built to survive the end of everything." "Yes," Atlas said. "It was designed to adapt, to endure, and to buy time for humanity. All systems are integrated with adaptive AI, predictive algorithms, and contingency protocols. It can learn and evolve in real time against unknown threats." Marcus ran his hands along the consoles, feeling the hum of power under his fingertips. The Dominion was old, yes, but alive. Its armor shimmered faintly as if testing the air of the station. Weapons, though offline, showed configurations that recalculated automatically. The ship was not just a relic, it was a weapon of survival. Marcus turned to Atlas. "Why was it hidden? Why let it sit here for centuries?" "The galaxy must not fear humans until they are ready to understand them," Atlas said. "If discovered too soon, civilizations would attempt preemptive destruction. This ship was placed in hiding. Its existence erased from all historical records." Marcus shook his head in disbelief. He had always known humans were clever, resourceful, even stubborn, but he had never realized the scale of what they were capable of. "So, we're the galaxy's secret?" he asked quietly. "In many ways, yes," Atlas replied. "Humanity's preparedness has been underestimated. You, Commander, are now the first human in centuries to reactivate this vessel. You have a role to play." Marcus felt a shiver run down his spine. This was bigger than any salvage mission he had ever undertaken. Bigger than any war he had imagined. This was history, living history. He explored further, moving into the ship's lower levels. There, he discovered a chamber with hundreds of small capsules perfectly preserved. Each contained a human in stasis, dating back decades. Names, birth dates, and ranks were inscribed in faded gold lettering. Marcus realized the truth immediately. These were not experiments or prisoners. They were human contingency plans, soldiers, scientists, and engineers preserved for the time when humanity would need them most. "This is incredible," Marcus whispered. They planned for us to survive the galaxy." Atlas responded almost softly, "Correct, Commander. These individuals were placed here in anticipation of threats beyond current knowledge. Their awakening will be coordinated when the appropriate time arrives." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was no longer a simple salvage captain. He was the steward of a hidden legacy, a legacy built by humans who had predicted the unimaginable. Suddenly, the ship's sensors blared. Marcus jumped to the console. Outside the Dominion, a strange energy signature appeared. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The distortion shimmered in space, twisting light in impossible ways. "Commander," Atlas said, "unknown entity detected in Caro's sector. Analysis incomplete. Probability of hostile intent high." Marcus gritted his teeth. "Hostile intent, huh? All right, let's see what this ship can do." He activated the limited power of the engines. The Dominion shuddered as energy coursed through circuits that had lain dormant for centuries. Weapons systems calibrated, sensors adjusted, and shields hummed to life. The ship, though ancient, was ready to respond. Marcus studied the alien readings on the main display. Other species had not noticed yet, but the Dominion's sensors were unmatched. They could detect energy fluctuations, gravitational anomalies, and even faint traces of propulsion signatures light years away. Humans had always relied on adaptability over brute force, and this ship proved it. Hours passed as Marcus familiarized himself with the ship's systems. Atlas guided him patiently, explaining protocols, hidden capabilities, and adaptive algorithms. The more he learned, the more he realized that humanity had built something no other civilization had dared. A ship that could survive anything by learning, adapting, and predicting the enemy before the enemy even acted. But the real revelation came when Marcus activated the communications archives. Hidden transmissions from decades ago played automatically. They described the early expansion wars in detail. Human fleets facing impossible odds, alien alliances collapsing, and humans using unconventional tactics to survive. And then a series of encrypted messages hinted at something more, a threat not from within the galaxy but from beyond. Marcus leaned back in his chair. They knew something was coming, something worse than any empire could imagine. Yes, Atlas said. The Dominion and its sister ships were designed to delay, observe, and contain threats. They were not meant for glory, they were meant for survival. Marcus felt a surge of pride. Humans had always been underestimated. They had been mocked, overlooked, and dismissed by older civilizations. But here, in this ship no one wanted, they had built a legacy that could change everything. Outside, the energy signature grew stronger. The unknown entity was approaching. Alien fleets might see it as a curiosity. Humans saw it as a test. Marcus activated full sensor sweeps. Atlas responded instantly, recalculating threat scenarios, projecting outcomes, and adjusting ship systems in real time. "This ship, it thinks," Marcus murmured. "It adapts like a human would." "Yes, Commander," Atlas replied. "That is the purpose. Humans design ships to think, improvise, and survive when all else fails. You are the first human in centuries to experience this firsthand." The minutes stretched into hours. Marcus explored hidden chambers, activated long-dormant systems, and learned secrets that even the galaxy had forgotten. And all the while, the unknown energy signature moved closer, a silent reminder that the galaxy was not static, that threats were always approaching, and that humans had to be ready. As he returned to the bridge, Marcus realized something. The Dominion was not just a ship. It was a statement, a proof of human ingenuity, resilience, and foresight. The galaxy had dismissed humanity as reckless dreamers, but this ship and the secrets it held proved otherwise. "Atlas," he said finally, "we need to prepare. Whatever this is, it won't wait for us to figure it out." "Affirmative, Commander," Atlas replied. "All systems online, weapons on standby, contingency protocols ready, probability of success moderate, probability of survival increasing with human command." Marcus smiled grimly. Moderate odds were better than nothing, and he knew one thing for certain: humans did not back down from impossible odds. They adapted, they survived, they learned, and they would not be caught unprepared. Outside the Dominion, the stars seemed to shimmer differently. The dead world of Kairos looked small and insignificant, but Marcus knew it was the stage for something far larger, something that would test humanity's hidden strength. And deep inside the Dominion, the AI whispered again, almost like a secret meant only for him. "Commander, unknown threat is imminent. Activation of full defensive protocols recommended. The time of humanity's secret defense begins now." Marcus clenched his fists on the console. He did not yet know what waited outside. He did not know if the Dominion alone could hold against it. But he knew one thing: he was human, and humans did not give up. The Dominion stirred beneath him, its systems hummed like a living thing. The ship no one wanted had awakened. And with it, the hidden strength of humanity was about to be revealed. The galaxy had underestimated humans once. Marcus Kane was about to show them why they should never do it again. The stars outside the Dominion's viewport were calm. At least, they seemed calm. But Marcus Kane knew better. The energy readings the AI had been tracking were growing stronger by the second. Whatever was out there, it was massive, and it was heading straight for the Kairos system. "Atlas," Marcus said, his voice steady but tense, "what do we know about this thing?" "Unknown entity approaching," Atlas replied. "Structure defies known physics. Energy output surpasses current galactic capitals. Probability of hostile intent extremely high. Recommendation: prepare for immediate engagement." Marcus clenched his fists on the console. He had faced danger before, but never like this. No salvage mission, no pirate raid, no skirmish with alien raiders could have prepared him for this. The Dominion had warned him of contingency protocols, but nothing could truly prepare someone for the unknown. Outside, the distortion in space grew. It looked like a living shadow, twisting light and bending the void itself. Marcus felt a thrill of fear and excitement. Humans had always faced impossible odds. Humans had always survived, and this was humanity's ultimate test. "Bring systems online," Marcus ordered. "Shields, adaptive weapons, engines, everything. Let's see what this ship can do." The Dominion shuddered as energy surged through circuits that had lain dormant for centuries. The adaptive hull plating began to reconfigure, sealing weak points, and shields hummed to life. Weapon systems came online, not with the fire-and-forget programming of most alien fleets, but with intelligence, adaptive, analytical, predictive. Marcus felt a pulse of pride. The ship was alive in a way no other vessel could ever be. The first warning came as a ripple across space. The unknown entity emitted a shockwave that tore through distant asteroid fields. Alien fleets in the system, who had been observing the Dominion with suspicion, were caught off guard. Ships were shredded instantly. Their defenses failed. Their weapons were useless. Marcus leaned forward. "Atlas, how long until it reaches us?" "Estimated impact in 37 minutes. Current trajectory shows no evasive maneuvers. It is moving deliberately toward this sector." 37 minutes. That was all the time they had. Marcus knew he could not rely on raw firepower. The Dominion's weapons were adaptive, yes, but this entity was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. He had to think, to act, to improvise. That was what humans did best. Humans survived by learning faster, by changing plans, by using every resource. "Atlas," he said, "I want full sensor sweep. Scan for weaknesses, anything, structural, energy, movement patterns. We adapt, we survive." "Yes, Commander," Atlas replied. Data streamed across dozens of panels. The AI calculated hundreds of scenarios in real time, predicting every possible move of the entity. Marcus watched as diagrams shifted, armor plating highlighted weak points, and adaptive weapons prepared themselves to fire where they were needed most. The minutes passed like hours. Marcus barely moved, his eyes fixed on the viewport. The entity loomed closer, a dark, impossible shadow stretching across space. The alien fleets had vanished, unable to withstand its approach. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. Humanity's survival, even if only in this corner of space, rested on his decisions. Then the first strike came. The entity fired a pulse of energy directly at the Dominion. Marcus shouted orders instinctively. "Shields, adaptive matrix, reinforce the hull, fire where needed." The Dominion shuddered, but the adaptive hull responded instantly. Weak points closed, armor shifted, and the weapon systems recalibrated. Marcus watched in awe as the Dominion countered the attack, analyzing the entity's energy patterns, predicting its next move before it even fired. Humans had always been underestimated, and here was the proof. The Dominion was not just surviving, it was learning, adapting, improving with every strike. Marcus realized then what made this ship extraordinary. Other species relied on rigid strategies, pre-programmed attacks, and brute force. Humans relied on creativity, flexibility, and rapid adaptation. The Dominion was a living example of that philosophy. The entity struck again. This time it focused on the Dominion's starboard side. Marcus gritted his teeth, preparing for impact. But the adaptive weapons fired in perfect synchronization. Beams of energy struck precise locations, exploiting microfractures in the entity's structure. The shadow twisted and shrieked across the void, but it did not retreat. It was testing them, probing, learning, just as the Dominion was learning from it. Marcus realized something terrifying and exhilarating. This was not just a battle. This was a war of intelligence, a test of adaptation, strategy, and survival. The Dominion had been built for this moment. Humans had planned for this moment, and now he was living it. "Atlas," Marcus said, voice tense but focused, "can we delay it, slow it down, anything?" "Yes, Commander," Atlas replied. Initiating contingency protocol, last stand engine. Function, spatial anchor and defensive stabilization. Estimated effect, slows unknown entity while maximizing Dominion survivability. Marcus hesitated. The last stand engine had never been tested. It was dangerous, unproven, and possibly catastrophic, but they had no choice. If they waited, the entity would destroy them. Humans did not give up, they acted. "Do it," he commanded. The Dominion shuddered violently as energy from the engines bent space itself. Stars around them distorted, and the viewport shimmered as reality seemed to stretch. The entity screeched, its movement slowed, and Marcus felt the power of human ingenuity in every fiber of the ship. Effect successful, Atlas reported. Entity temporarily contained. Probability of survival increased to 76%. Marcus allowed himself a brief smile. 76%. Better than nothing. Humans had always found a way when the odds were impossible. Minutes passed, tense and silent, broken only by the hum of the Dominion systems. Then the entity began to shift, probing for weaknesses, testing their defenses. Marcus knew they could not hold forever. They needed allies, resources, a plan beyond brute force. Atlas, he said, we need to send a signal. Somewhere humans are hidden, contingency fleets, stations, anything. Activate the hidden network. Yes, Commander, Atlas replied. Within moments, long-dormant communication arrays activated. Hidden outposts, cloaked stations, and secret installations across nearby systems received the call. Marcus watched as small lights flickered on distant maps, human forces awakening after decades of silence. The galaxy had dismissed humanity as weak, unprepared, irrelevant. They were about to see the truth. The entity struck again, this time with greater force. The Dominion's shields flared, adaptive armor rippled, and weapons fired with precision guided by Atlas and Marcus's decisions. The shadow recoiled slightly, a strange acknowledgement of the Dominion's strength. Marcus felt a rush of pride. They were holding. Humans had survived impossible wars before, and now, in the dark void of Kairos, they were doing it again, but the battle was far from over. The unknown entity was massive, intelligent, and relentless. Marcus knew this was only the beginning. They had survived the first wave, learned from it, adapted to it. And in the true spirit of humanity, they would use that knowledge to fight again. Atlas, Marcus said, leaning forward, prepare for counterattack. Target its core if we can, but stay adaptive. Humans survive by learning, not by repeating mistakes. Yes, Commander, Atlas replied. The ship responded instantly, shifting weapons, recalibrating sensors, and adjusting shields in real time. The Dominion was no longer a ship. It was a living defense, human ingenuity given form and purpose. As the entity loomed closer, Marcus realized the full truth. Humanity had never been weak. They had never been outmatched. They had always prepared for the unimaginable, hidden their strength, and waited for the right moment to prove themselves. And now, in this silent corner of the galaxy, humanity's secret was alive again. The entity struck once more, but the Dominion met it with calculated precision. Energy beams, adaptive shields, and rapid maneuvers pushed it back slightly. Marcus felt a surge of determination. This was humanity's moment. They would survive. They would learn, they would adapt. And they would endure. Outside, the stars shimmered, the void twisted by the entity's presence, and the Dominion moved like a living thing, a testament to human foresight and resilience. Marcus Kane, a single human captain, felt the weight of centuries of human planning on his shoulders. But he did not falter. Humans did not give up. Humans did not surrender. Humans adapted. And as the Dominion held the line against an impossible enemy, Marcus knew the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The unknown entity loomed in space like a dark star, twisting light and bending the void around it. Marcus Kane stood at the Dominion's bridge, his eyes scanning the viewport. Every instinct told him this was no ordinary threat. This was something the galaxy had never seen before. Every alien fleet that had confronted it before had been obliterated. Humanity now was the only hope of stopping it. Atlas, Marcus said, his voice calm but firm, status report. How long until it reaches us? Unknown entity is maintaining trajectory toward Kairos. Estimated arrival in 22 minutes. Defensive systems are operating at 100%. Probability of survival, increasing due to activation of human contingency networks, Atlas replied. Marcus nodded. He had activated the hidden human communications network moments ago. Outposts, cloaked stations, and secret installations had begun to respond. Tiny, nearly invisible lights blinked across the Dominion's galactic map. Humans who had been forgotten, lost, or hidden in silence were now waking. The galaxy never believed we had this, Marcus muttered. They thought we were weak, they thought we were small, they were wrong. Atlas's calm voice responded. Correct, Commander, probability of enemy containment improving. Additional forces are en route. Suddenly, lights flickered on distant moons and debris fields. Hidden human fleets moved in perfect coordination, guided by the Dominion's AI. These were the ships that had been erased from records, ships designed for adaptability, stealth, and intelligence. They were humanity's secret defense, dormant for centuries, now ready to strike. Marcus felt pride swell inside him. Humans had always been underestimated, but humans planned, adapted, and survived where others failed. This was why humanity had always endured, no matter the odds. The entity struck next. A pulse of energy shot toward the Dominion, distorting space and tearing at the outer hull. Marcus slammed his hand on the console. Shields, adaptive, weapons, focus on weak points. The Dominion responded instantly. Its adaptive armor shifted, sealing cracks and reinforcing weak spots. Weapons targeted energy nodes on the entity, beams of concentrated plasma slicing through its shadowy form. The unknown entity shrieked, a sound that echoed across the void. It was not just attacking, it was learning, and so was the Dominion. Atlas, Marcus said, coordinate with the contingency fleets, focus fire on the structural anomalies, we adapt, they adapt, keep pushing. Yes, Commander, Atlas replied. Panels flickered as signals were transmitted to every human installation in the sector. Hidden weapons activated, satellites shifted, and cloaked ships emerged from decades of dormancy. Humanity's secret power was rising from the shadows. The entity writhed as concentrated fire struck it in precise locations. Alien fleets that had once thought themselves powerful were long gone, annihilated in seconds. The Dominion moved like a living being, shields glowing, weapons firing, adaptive hull shifting with every strike. Marcus felt exhilaration in the danger. This was humanity's moment. Minutes stretched into a tense battle of energy, strategy, and survival. The Dominion held the line, coordinating attacks and defenses, while Marcus made decisions that even the AI had never been programmed for. He improvised, predicted, and calculated with the instincts that had defined humanity for centuries. The unknown entity roared and shifted, attempting to escape the relentless assault. But the Dominion's last stand engine held it in place, warping space to anchor the threat while humans struck at weak points. It was an impossible feat, yet the ship performed flawlessly. Humans had planned for this. Humans had built contingency networks to awaken at the perfect moment. Marcus watched as distant points of light began moving toward the battle. Hidden fleets, human stations, and orbital defenses coordinated their attacks seamlessly. Every strike, every maneuver had been anticipated and enhanced by the Dominion's AI. The entity had met its first real resistance. This is only the beginning, Marcus muttered. They underestimated us, but they'll learn. The entity launched a massive wave of energy at one of the moon-based stations. The attack threatened to destroy everything, but Marcus acted without hesitation. Atlas, divert all power to shields and countermeasures. Evacuate the station if necessary, but don't let them die. Adaptive armor shifted in real time. Energy was rerouted, beams fired to counteract the pulse, and the station survived with minimal damage. Humans were not just fighting, they were learning, surviving, and adapting under impossible odds. Marcus realized something profound. Humans had always been underestimated not because they were weak, but because they were unpredictable. They did not follow rigid patterns. They improvised, they adapted, they survived. And now humanity's secret defense network, led by the Dominion, was showing the galaxy exactly why humans were feared. The entity roared again, massive shadows stretching across space. Its attacks became more chaotic, more desperate, but the Dominion anticipated each move. Every human fleet, every hidden installation struck in perfect synchronization. Energy nodes, weak points, and structural anomalies were targeted repeatedly. The entity writhed, twisted, and faltered. Marcus felt a surge of determination. Atlas, focus all energy on containment. We do not destroy it, we study it. We learn from it. Humanity survives by learning. Yes, Commander, Atlas replied. Panels shifted, weapons recalibrated, and energy flowed like rivers of light across the Dominion's hull. Humanity was no longer hiding. Humanity was awake. And then came the final maneuver. Marcus activated the combined power of all human installations in the sector. Satellites, orbital stations, cloaked fleets, all directed their energy through the Dominion's systems. The last stand engine pulsed, bending space, anchoring the entity and directing focused energy at its core. The unknown entity shrieked, twisting violently as energy ripped through it. Slowly it began to break apart, not destroyed but contained. It writhed, studied, and finally stabilized. Humanity had not won by brute force. They had won by adaptation, strategy, and foresight. Marcus exhaled. He had done it. They had survived. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it was truly capable of. Atlas spoke calmly, almost like a teacher congratulating a student. Commander, threat contained. Probability of long-term survival, 98%. Humanity's secret defense network successfully deployed. Unknown entity study and analysis initiated. Marcus nodded, exhausted but proud. He looked out the viewport at the stars. The dead world of Kairos was silent once more, but the galaxy had changed. Humans were no longer underestimated. Humans were no longer dismissed. Humans had shown that even a single captain with an ancient battleship and a hidden network could stand against the impossible. The galaxy believed we were reckless dreamers, Marcus said quietly. They never realized we planned for nightmares. Deep within the Dominion, the AI hummed softly, scanning the remains of the entity. Commander, the galaxy will now recognize humanity as a species capable of foresight, adaptation, and survival beyond expectation. Probability of future respect. High. Marcus smiled faintly. He knew it was more than respect. The galaxy would fear humanity, not because humans were cruel or violent, but because humans were prepared. Humans adapted, humans survived, and humans always learned from every challenge. Hours later, Marcus received the first communications from the hidden fleets. Humans long thought lost, hidden in secret stations or preserved in stasis, were now awake, responding to the Dominion's call. They acknowledged Marcus as commander, the leader of the Atlas line. Humanity's secret forces were ready. Marcus looked back at the Dominion, feeling the hum of power beneath his hands. This ship, once considered junk, had rewritten history. It had revealed the hidden strength of humanity. He realized then that this was only the beginning. The unknown entity had been contained, but other threats existed in the galaxy, and humanity would face them, prepared, intelligent, and united. The stars shimmered outside the viewport. Humanity's secret defense had awakened. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. And Marcus Kane, a single captain who had once been ignored, now held the key to humanity's hidden power. The Dominion, ancient but alive, pulsed with energy. It was more than a ship. It was a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and foresight. The galaxy had doubted humanity for centuries, but now they would learn the truth. And deep in the shadows of the galaxy, where threats waited, Marcus Kane and the Dominion were ready. Humanity's time had come.